Ariel Helwani in Mexico City for UFC 188 alongside Gilbert Melendez, who meets Eddie Alvarez this Saturday live on pay-per-view. Gilbert, what a big moment this is for you. I'm wondering, when was the first time you remember thinking, I would love to fight in Mexico? My dad's from Tijuana. This is a big deal for me and my family. Do you remember that first time?
You know, I've always remembered, big fighters coming from Mexico and the Mexican people loving fights in Mexico City. But, I never thought that, there was going to be UFC fights here because there was never UFC fights here. So I've always wondered why they never tapped into this demographic. And I was like, man, this is a huge demographic. Mexicans love fighting. Why are we not in Mexico yet? I said this like 8 years ago, but so I really didn't even think about fighting here like as much as until they immediately announced it after my fight against Diego. They're like, hey, how would you like to fight in Mexico City, Kane? And I was like, I'd love to do that. I'm up for that. So that's when I kind of remember first thinking about it. Like, hey, there's a possibility that can happen. It's always kind of a thing. Like, it's a journey. It's always been a journey fighting in Japan, fighting in Hawaii, traveling. It's like, it's amazing. It's fun. But you didn't know if this stop was ever going to happen. But it's just another chapter, and here we are.
Is this kind of like a gift to your dad? People who have been covering you for so long and been around you, he's always very close by, and you have such a great relationship. He's in your corner. I would imagine for someone who's from Mexico to see his son fight on a big stage like this has to be very special.
It is special. It is a little more special because that, I joined MMA for myself. I used to fight, and no one even knew what the sport was. Me and Jake would go to Japan with our portable stove and go fight people in Japan, and no one knew what the heck was going on, But then you get a fan base and you get your fans, and my dad's always been supportive of me, and so it's special. It is special this time, and I'm happy to be able to represent for him, and I know he's proud of me, and it's my chance to really represent for him and all my family from from Mexico and all my roots. So it is very special.
And then on top of all of that, it's Eddie Alvarez, a fight that's been 5 years in the making. You couldn't write a better script than this one. He said recently that, after you, I believe it was on my show to be exact, said you wanted to fight on this card, and no problem, we helped make that happen for you. He said that you're kind of like that cheerleader who rides the coattails of the quarterback. I think he said some more disparaging thing, but I won't go into such details. Are you offended by anything he has said about you?
The first time he said that 5 years ago, I was slightly offended, but I don't think Eddie Alvarez, the more I get to know him or hear him, I don't think he's the brightest human being at times. And, that's his one line that you just repeated, if you even call that a line, that he keeps using. And, I really don't know where he's getting at. I would love to have a good debate about mixed martial arts of, why I'm the better fighter, why he's the better fighter. But I'm not going to get it caught up in, some he said, she said crap like that. It's kind of childish, and I'm above that. And, and I'm just happy we're finally fighting. Again, I don't know who he is or what anymore, but I do respect him as a fighter, and I've always liked this matchup, and it's been a dream of mine to fight a fighter like him. I think he's a warrior that takes the center of the octagon. I think we're both warriors, and, styles make matches, and I think it's going to be an amazing fight. And, and that's what I'm looking forward to, challenging myself against another warrior, whether he's a good person or not a good person, whatever. I'm just looking forward to a challenge against a warrior, and I do appreciate you helping me get this fight, and that really did help out, and giving us that platform. So I'm happy it's finally here.
So it's interesting to hear you say that he's maybe not the brightest guy. What about fighter? Is he a smart fighter? Like, when you actually break down how he actually fights, do you think he's a smart fighter, or also you'd put him in that same category?
I think he's a very good fighter, and I think he's, has natural instincts, that make up for his intelligence. But I do believe my fighter IQ is better, and I think what separates us is I am more of an intelligent fighter, and I do make better decisions, and I will make less mistakes, and I will capitalize on his. And I think that'll be the difference in this fight. We both like to throw big bombs. We both like to come forward. We both think we're better in every position, but one thing I like to I do talk about is, the mental and the focus and the intelligence, and I think that's what separates us. I think I'm smarter in that department.
I've been listening to a lot of your interviews leading up to this fight, and one thing that I found interesting was you've always, and this kind of comes with the territory with your team, you, Jake, Nate, Nick, very confident fighters. But I'm getting the impression that going into the Anthony Pettis fight, you were lacking confidence. Is that accurate, and why was that?
Yeah, I have a new quote now. With preparation comes confidence, and I feel like it was a little lack of preparation for myself on that fight. And Anthony Pettis was the better man that fight, and I did feel pretty damn good that night. I trained pretty damn hard for that fight. But, for the mental, it's like you need to be 100% prepared, and with that comes confidence. And then when you walk in there with confidence, you can just kind of like sleep well at night whether you win or lose. And I don't care that I lost. Didn't sleep well at night because I know that wasn't the best Gilbert Melendez out there. I had a very productive year, 2014, for my career, being an analyst, yada yada, doing all the great stuff. It was great for me, but I spent too much time outside the gym, and and I feel like I was playing catch up. I worked hard in that fight, but it was like a 9-week camp, and and I didn't do enough preparation leading up to that 9-week camp, and I did my best, and it wasn't enough. But again, it was a little lack of focus, a little lack of preparation, and that makes the difference in these top level fights here. That's not the issue here. I prepared hard. 15 weeks out, I started prepping. I mean, since we talked on your show, I don't know how long out it was a fight. I started, we knew we had the fight, and you start mentally visualizing it. You know what's happening. 15 weeks out, I'm lifting weights, I'm running, I'm prepping for a fight. 9 weeks out, I'm up in Tahoe for a week, dabbling in the altitude with great teammates, and have a great group of people together. 8 weeks out, I start hitting it even harder. And then, my last 2 weeks out, I'm up in Tahoe. So a great preparation. I feel prepared, and I feel confident because of it. And I won't make that mistake again. And whether I win or lose this fight, I'll sleep good at night because I did everything I could do. And that's the trouble with it. When you lose and you don't do everything you could do to prepare, that's to me the hardest thing, to sleep at night. And I blew that shot with Anthony Pettis, but I live to fight again.
When you look at some of the guys who are at the top of the division now, Dos Anjos, Cerrone, Khabib, to an extent, you say, I'm better than these guys, man. I should be in that discussion.
I feel like I could lock horns with any of them, and I can hold my ground. And that's the beautiful thing with the lightweight division. Anthony Pettis beat me, but he lost to Dos Anjos, and who's lost to Khabib, and Khabib, who debatably lost to Gleison Tibau, Tibau, who beat whoever. It's just an endless amount of talent in the 155-pound division that on any given day, anyone could be the baddest 155-pounder in the world, and which means, I'm still in the mix, and that's what I'm fighting for, is to stay relevant. I feel like fighters that come and go. I'm not talking crap, Roger Huerta, cover of Sports Illustrated, right up there. Where is he at today? No offense, Roger, Gray Maynard fighting for the title, where's he at today, Where was I at 2003, 2006? I'm fighting Kawajiri and Pride, #2 in the world, while Anthony Pettis is trying out for the Ultimate Fighter show and not making it. I've been relevant for years. I've been debatably #1 for years, and I'm at the beginning of the fourth quarter of my career. I'm an older guy in this sport, and I'm still top 10 in the world, and I've been there for years, and not many people could say it. There's a belt that means a lot to everybody, the UFC belt, but not many people say they can say they were #1 in the world at 145s at one point in 2004, 2003. Top 3 in the world already since then. I've been when I do the math, it's been over 10 years since I've been top 10 in the world, and maybe even top 5 in the world. So I don't think many people could say that.
Do you feel like you get that recognition?
I think a lot of people know. Yeah, I think I do get the recognition. I think it takes sometimes, people just haven't been fans that long. You know what I mean? While Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner were fighting, fighting for that title right there, fighting in that big, fight, which was amazing for the sport, and I thought it was an amazing fight, and they're great. I'm already like 9 fights deep in Shudo, you know what I mean? I'm undefeated at the time, and I'm beating Ruben Osado, and I'm looking for Pequeño. He doesn't want to fight me. He's the #1 45-pounder in the world. And, I'm making my transition into Pride, and, and I think at that time, there was a great Pride tournament going on. That's irrelevant, but anyways, what I'm saying is I've been in the sport for a long time, before people started watching, probably even before you started working in it, you know what I mean? So, I even remember my first interview with you, I think was maybe when I fought Aoki. Was that the first time I started?
I think it was before that. First Thompson fight.
Oh, the first Thompson fight was our first interview. I'm sorry. But yeah, you know what I mean? And that was a hard loss for me. But anyways, that was I was 15 fights deep, let's put it that way,
And by the way, I love this fire coming out of you. I feel it. I mean, you really have an edge. I'm wondering, speaking of Thompson, last question here. Is this the first time since those Thompson fights that you felt this kind of feeling like, I can't lose to this guy? Of course, you always want to win, but there's a rivalry here. There's something like, I feel like this is old school, like backyard stuff where you don't want to lose to this guy. Is it the first time since Thompson?
I think so. I think it's been that, I mean, you always have you always want to fight for your pride, you fight for your family, you fight for whatever, but this is a little extra right here. You know what I mean? Again, I'll sleep good at night regardless, but I know there's no way I'm not going to be prepared for this. You know what I mean? If Eddie beats me, he's the better man that night, and I'm prepared. And yeah, there's some fire on this one. I don't want to lose this one. I want to win this one bad. I'm ready.
Tremendous stuff. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, Ariel. Appreciate it.
Awesome.